Hey everybody, come join us on our trip to Costa Rica as we jump out of our comfort zone to post our story. I'm Darren.
And I'm Elizabeth, and this is Day to Day.
It was pretty late when we arrived on our first night, so we stayed at a hotel near the airport in San Jose. The next morning we drove to our first Airbnb.
We stopped at Restaurante Mirador that hung off the side of a narrow and steep road that had great views of the area that we were in. We were surrounded by mountains on all sides, breakfast was good, and we had our first fruit smoothies that would be far from our last.
After breakfast, we took a long scenic drive to our next stop, which was a well-known bridge that attracts locals and tourists.
The Tarcoles Bridge has the highest population of crocodiles in Costa Rica and is free to visit, although you may have to tip someone to watch your car while you stop, since break-ins have happened in the past, but it is still very rare since it is so heavily trafficked.
We walked the bridge for about 20 minutes before getting some food. We found a cute dog and then drove to the place we were staying. We went to Vida, which is a beautiful area known for many popular beaches and attractions.
Once we put our bags down, we headed to our first beach. Even though it was super cloudy and sprinkling, we didn't feel like waiting.
The ocean was warmer than the air and the beach was empty, but it was getting late, so we didn't stay too long since crocodile sightings are pretty common at night here, and I also promised Elizabeth's mother she would come back the way she left.
After the beach, we got back into the car to eat at Sabes, which had some good food with big portions and even bigger bugs.
I had a giant beetle just like the one in this picture latch onto my shirt and start crawling up my neck, but he quickly found his way off. The next day, we headed to a breakfast place that would become a frequent stop for us in the mornings.
The restaurant was called Mestizo and had its very own bouncer. We think this was the owner's dog since it never left the restaurant. He was living his best life, following people into the bathroom and eating any bugs that came close to the tables. He took his job very seriously and greeted everyone that came in. Once we finished breakfast, we went over to Bahia Ballena National Park, which has the famous Whaletail Beach. Although we had already missed low tide, we still wanted to walk the national park and feel the water.
We met a friend on our walk who was in the middle of their morning run when he stopped to say hi. Oddly enough, we followed him for a little while longer and he led us to a path back through the jungle.
After the national park, we headed to the river. The drive was a scenic one with super tall bamboo that would curve over the road like tall archways. Once we parked, we walked across a shallow part of the river and got onto the path that led to the waterfalls and pools.
Accidentally walked past the entrance to the river by a quarter mile, but we found it eventually and got to enjoy the water.
Eventually, we made our way up to the waterfall, which doesn't have a path, but you just follow the water up for about 10 minutes, stepping from rock to rock. Our next stop was a sushi place that was on the way to the waterfall. This was definitely the best sushi we ate during our trip. Tide was about to start right when we left the sushi place, so we went back to Bahia Baiana to see the whale tail.
We walked the beach and got to see some cool shells that washed up from the waves, but we didn't keep any because of the environmental protection laws in Costa Rica.
Water was warm and calm, so you will definitely want to get in, especially since the ocean floor is practically spotless after the first few steps. Day 3, we made our way over to Monkey Cafe and had a stunning view of the river that opened up into the ocean.
After breakfast, we headed out to see Reptilandia, which is the biggest reptile park in Central America and has the only Komodo dragon in Latin America.
Also got to see an albino monitor lizard that was shedding its skin. We accidentally startled each other as we looked over the wall. He was right there looking up from the water and started hissing at us. Typically, they do not have guests that early in the day, so he was not expecting us.
Why does it look like he doesn't know where he's going? Jeez.
An hour later, we were back on the road headed to the national park to zipline through the jungle and find more wildlife.
It was a great experience, but we definitely recommend wearing long pants and having bug spray since you may attract bugs while you're waiting your turn.
On our way back down from the zip lines, we saw a coati. They're most common in Guanacaste area. This one was most likely a male since he was on his own, as they live solitary lives once they become adults and get kicked out of their group that they were born in. After the national park, we finished our day up at the beach and went back to our place.
We got breakfast at this cafe the next morning and headed to the Nayaka waterfalls. This was a pretty long drive from where we were staying and took up most of the day, but it was totally worth it. There are companies there that can shuttle you close to Nayaka, and we recommend using them since the parking lot is pretty far away from the actual falls. The falls, we headed closer to home to Playa Hermosa, where we got to see a great sunset.
It's the next day, and after about an hour and a half of driving, we are at Emilio's Cafe, which is our stopping point before going to Manuel Antonio National Park. The cafe had awesome views since we were elevated looking out to the sea. The food was amazing, and we got to see our first monkeys.
We did not get any footage of this, but just a forewarning, if you go to this national park, prepare for scammers wearing lanyards with fake park badges trying to stop you at every turn once you're driving closer to the park.
Stolen food. Once we were in the park, we got to see all kinds of wildlife, and they had a nice nature walk while heading to the beach that was in the park.
That's so cute. They shared with each other.
There are specific rules that state to not bring food in, because the monkeys can be aggressive if you have food. The only place you can purchase and eat food is fenced in like a giant cage to keep the monkeys out so you can peacefully eat your food.
The nice couple that sat next to us on the beach with their infant child thought it would be a great idea to whip out a bundle of bananas and leave them in their stroller for all the monkeys to see and expect nothing to go wrong. Almost immediately, the bananas were spotted and the group moved from tree to tree above us, slowly descending onto the stroller and grabbed every banana before the couple had time to act.
But apparently they didn't just have bananas.
Now that the monkeys have realized they struck gold, they quickly came back to ransack the stroller to steal wipes and a bag of baby snacks. At this point, the husband was actively trying to fight off the bandits, but to no avail as he almost lost a finger for it.
After the national park, we walked around to grab souvenirs for our family, which were right by the entrance to the park, and then we headed to lunch at El Avion, just down the road. We stopped at a store after lunch and got to meet a store owner who required us to pet her before we left.
Once we got back home, Elizabeth rushed to grab her camera because we finally found toucans.
They were right above our Airbnb in the trees, along with several iguanas and a parrot. My arms were shaking by the time I stopped taking pictures, but it was totally worth it and was really cool to see the way they communicated with each other.
The next day was our last day here at Uvita, so we went back to our favorite breakfast place, Matizo, and then got massages. We didn't film much that day, but we also went to the Crocodile Bar and Kitchen and got to play pool while we were there.
Then we got ready for our long trip to Fortuna the next day, which is close to the Arenal volcano.
This day was mainly just driving from Uvita to Fortuna, and we did not make many stops during the drive. We got to our Airbnb in the evening and took in some great views.
The stars were amazing at this Airbnb, and we will be sure to find a better way to capture the night sky for our next trip.
We made breakfast in the morning, enjoying the sunrise, and headed to the hanging bridges near the Arenal volcano.
Once we finished walking the bridges, we got to see a few more coyotes just at the front of the park and then found a place to eat for lunch. As we got out of the car to walk to the restaurant, I heard a ripping sound and looked over to see Darren's new linen pants had just ripped down the back.
There is a good chance those pants were actually for women, but as we hung around the restaurant, we got to see a few lizards that were darting around and a young sloth that was pretty active.
Taking a sweet time. That lizard is running all over the place.
Once we got back to our place, one of the owners decided to meet us for lunch and even stayed late into the night until we went to bed.
Where did you come from, sir? Where did you come from? You belong to someone else.
Our Costa Rica trip was in late February to early March of 2025, which was the dry season in case you wanted to know when we went. We didn't experience many rainy days, but when it rained, it was a full downpour for about 20 minutes, then back to normal.
This is our first attempt at something like this, so we hope you guys liked our video, and please let us know what you think as we plan to keep growing this channel with anything eventful in our own lives. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date. Like and subscribe.
Thank you.